All right, y'all. Before we dive in, a quick heads up.
This show is raw, real, and definitely not rated PG.
We're talking about adult themes, sexual content, and the kind of stuff you probably don't want blasting through your speakers at work or around your kids.
So grab some headphones, pour your drink of choice, and get comfy.
Oh, and just so we're clear, we are not licensed therapists, counselors, or sex coaches. Sex coaches,
Sex coaches.
not sex couches.
We're just a couple of people sharing our lives, experiences, and sexy adventures. An ethical non-monogamy. So with that, pull up a chair and enjoy the show.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Beyond Monogamy. I'm Adam.
And I'm Pris.
And today we are diving deep into something that hits close to home for a lot of people in this space, especially me, what it really means to live non-monogamy on your own terms. We're not talking about following somebody else's playbook or trying to fit your relationship into a box with a fancy label. What we're talking about here is how you evolve, how you feel, how you grow through all the messy, beautiful parts of open love. And joining us for this one is someone who's been as real as hell about that exact journey. Evita Lavitaloca Sawyers.
Yes. Evita is a speaker, author, and a relationship coach who's known for keeping it unapologetically honest when it comes to non-monogamy, emotional work, and communication that actually works. You've probably seen her online dropping these daily truth bombs on today's polyamory reminder, or maybe you've read her book, A Polyamory Devotional. Either way, you already know she brings it. Evita, we are so glad to have you here. So welcome to the show.
Yes, welcome to the show.
Hi. Happy
Hi.
Sunday. Good morning. I'm so happy to be here. I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah, we are really glad that you could make it. We actually have been sitting down. We've been watching some of your reels on Instagram,
Yes.
some of your content. We were literally sitting on the couch yesterday just listening to you talk. So we feel like we are prepared for you.
Yes. Yes, we are.
Am I prepared for you, though? We'll see.
Bring it on. Let's do this.
I don't know, man.
Now, Evita, I got to know, and this is pretty much how I start with all of my guests. I'm just really, really curious how you got here as far as non-monogamy. I know that there's not we're going to get into labels and that sort of thing. And I don't know how you feel about labels, but as far as where you're at currently and what you're experiencing, how did you get here?
Wow, gosh.
That's such a loaded question, isn't it?
It is such a loaded question, but I always like to say that I evolved to this place, which is funny because, I did have an entry partner, which is what I call the partner that someone enters into non-monogamy with. Not everyone enters from a partnered space, but I did. I was married at the time. We started with non-monogamy as a way for me to explore my sexuality. So I was monogamously married to a man. And was still kind of struggling with whether or not I was straight, whether or not I was gay, something in between,
Yeah.
And so I was really kind of struggling in my marriage and kind of going, I don't know if, I really enjoy this experience of being married to a man. And we were going through something as a family that was really traumatic. Like my son had gotten diagnosed with cancer. And so life had gotten really, 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 really serious. And we entered into swinging just to lighten up life. And as an opportunity for me to explore my sexuality. My ex-husband and I. And so our movements through non-monogamy started with sort of recreational sex, looking for the elusive threesome, that kind of thing. We did the swinger version of non-monogamy for a while, and then went to a party and met someone who would become our actual romantic partner for off and on for about 2 years. And so that's when we shifted to a new model of non-monogamy, because at the time we were mostly sexually non-monogamous, but we weren't it wasn't within our agreements to develop like relational emotional bonds with other people. And so I when my ex-husband initially wanted to do polyamory, I was a little resistant because I was like, I don't want to share you in that way. At least that was my
Yeah.
philosophy at the time.
Yeah.
So sex to me, I very much understand the drive to want to have as much sex with as many people as you possibly can. Like that is makes total sense to me. Like I get it.
Yeah,
I'm like, yeah, totally understand. And so that
it's
one
like
wasn't
stocking
hard for
up
me to
food
wrap
for
my
the
mind around.
winter.
Mhm. Mhm.
Right. Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. Like, so I always tell people I'm a certified floozy. And so like it totally made sense to me. But the wanting to connect emotionally with multiple people, like that one was a little bit of a challenge. And but for my ex-husband, he was a lot more he needed a lot more of an emotional attachment to be sexual with a person, whereas I didn't. So swinging worked very well for me. It was really hard for him. And so he wanted to explore different versions of non-monogamy. So he suggested polyamory. The first time we tried it, I was very hesitant. And it was very volatile. I was not in possession of my emotional faculties at the time. So we tabled it. And then we came back to it maybe about 6 months later because I wanted the opportunity to actually develop like romantic bonds with AFAB people,
Mhm.
or people assigned female at birth. Like I could only sleep with them in the current model that we were practicing, and I wanted the chance to actually having a romantic relationship with them. So we re um we reinstituted that we would be trying non-monogamy, like polyamory and those kinds of forms of non-monogamy. But and we initially were supposed to find our own person because I was like, there is no way that we have the same taste in women. Like, absolutely not, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we have very different tastes. And so I was like, you go find you somebody, I'm gonna go find me somebody, and never the twain shall meet. And then we like randomly go to a party and we meet this person that we both fall for. We were with her for 2 years, and that was our entrance into polyamory. And then once that relationship ended, because it was highly volatile, with all of our first experience with non-monogamy of that caliber, and we just did not know what we were doing. And so that relationship broke up. But after it broke up, we just remained open. And so throughout the course of the non-monogamous period of our marriage, we had multiple types of partnerships, long distance relationships. I was in another triad. And so yeah, and so that was kind of like my journey to becoming non-monogamous. And then how I became a content creator was I joined a bunch of online groups to like find community.
Yeah.
And I would post in these groups about some of the challenges that I was facing emotionally. And so many people were so like resistant to that.
Oh
It was
my
just like,
goodness.
yeah,
Yes.
it really was.
Yes.
So resistant to it, and that was really hard for me because I was like, "Y'all, I am struggling," and, like, people are, like, posting, like, "Oh my god, my partner's away for 2 weeks with their other partner on a dream vacation. I'm just so happy for them," and I'm like, "That is not my experience at all." Like, I am dying over
Yes.
here, guys.
Yeah.
Like, what am I doing wrong? Because I just don't understand why I don't feel this way that these people are talking about. And so initially, like, I would make these posts in these groups and people would kinda, balk at it a little bit, and I was literally just looking for help. Like, I was just like, I know that I really wanna live this way, and I'm having such a hard time doing this. Can someone, like, give me some help? But I would also talk about, like, my process through kind of, like, basically unpacking monogamy, unpacking these like sort of standard relationship norms. And found the stuff so fascinating that I would discover within myself that I would like make these posts where I just talk about it, because I'm like, oh my God, guess what I learned about myself today? And it started to resonate with people. And because, like I said, nobody wanted to post that they were struggling, people would like jump in my inbox and be like, I'm so glad you posted that. Oh my God. Like I felt the same way. And I just didn't want to say anything. And I was just like, okay, so y'all are out here, it's not just me.
Yeah.
And so that kind of started my content creation journey. And in 2020, I was laid off work and we all were stuck in the house. And so I challenged myself to see if I could make a daily polyamory reminder for 365 days and then compile them into like a little book of like daily reminders and reflections on living non-monogamously. And so that's how that journey started. And because everybody was stuck in the fucking house, like
Yeah.
the internet exploded. And so yeah, and so people started kind of following and resonating with what I said. And I wrote the book. It was published in 2023. And so now I get the privilege and the honor of being able to be for other people what I needed when I was transitioning and entering into and shifting and adapting to a non-monogamous way of relating. So yeah, that's
I
how I
love
got here.
that. I mean, that so you hit a lot of, like, little
Yeah, oh,
nails.
you've
So,
knocked a whole
uh
lot of different areas out. I'm like,
yeah,
"Okay, check,
I
check, check."
totally understand. So I, just really briefly, because this is not about us, but we were swingers in the beginning, and, when
Yeah,
we
we
first
started
started our
as
relationship, we've
swingers.
been together for 14 years.
We've been together 15.
15
Congratulations.
We
years.
were in the,
15 years.
lifestyle for 14.
There you go.
I'll remember the numbers, it's okay.
And, we did the swinging thing. It was fun. We did it. I knew that I was bisexual. I just wasn't out.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
when I told him and he responded in a way that my previous partners did not, I was like, cool, okay, let's try this. So just briefly, we did swinging, we stopped, we did
We moved
poly,
into the poly world.
and we did that for
Hmm.
5 years. And I'm going to tell you what I tell everybody on my show and what we talk about a lot. It was the worst
Mm.
experience for me.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Because he needed, like what you said, your partner, he needed that emotional connection
Yeah.
that I did not understand. That I was like, we're not
Hmm.
doing that. You are my husband. You can go and have sex with whomever you want, but emotional relationship, we're not doing that. That's not going to
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
So I did it,
Yeah.
and I was going through menopause at the time. I was living 3 hours away from my family and my kids. So
Mhm.
it was a very
It was
stressful
a
time for
weird
me. It was a
time,
very
yeah.
weird time. Then the pandemic happened. And so we just finally, in a heat of an argument, not related to Polly, I said, we're not doing this anymore. Like,
And,
it was like,
we've always had we don't have a whole lot of rules, but there's one
yeah,
big rule that we've always had, and it applied to every aspect of non-monogamy, which
yes,
is if one of us says, "I don't like this, I don't wanna do this anymore," no questions asked, we
yeah.
pull out.
And
Yeah.
so I think he knew that I was struggling with something, and
I could see
and
it.
I knew I was struggling with something, and I didn't know what it was. But as we started, like, kind of learning, I learned more about myself and understood, like, how to communicate. I was like, yeah, this is not, I just don't like the emotional connection. And I know a lot of people are like, well, when you have friends, it's an emotional connection. It's a very different connection.
I don't know.
It's
And
a
see, and
very,
Yeah.
that's where we
like,
always, differ.
that's where we different. Like, I understand when you're in a relationship, especially poly, you're in a relationship. You are giving and taking. Like, that's just the way it is. When you're with friends and you have a friends with benefits, it's just sex. Yeah, you're going to be a friend, but you don't have to be there all the time for every emotional little thing, and the relationship doesn't have to, it's a friendship. It's not going to grow anymore. Like, you're going to be best friends is all. But yeah, so
And
you
so
hit a lot
but
of nail.
this is where we start talking about semantics, though, because for me, it's why do we have to label things?
Yeah.
I'm not a label person.
Yeah.
Now, I think that
Mhm.
labels play a good part in the beginning for especially for new people who are figuring out the ropes and learning about dynamics and this and that and what people are into. Labels will help guide people into figuring out who to aim into and go, okay, well, we maybe are into something similar. But after a while, you level up, excuse me, and those labels kinda go away,
Yeah.
and then it becomes
Yeah.
less about what you used to classify yourselves, and it's more fluid. It's more like, "Why do we have to define this? Why
Yeah.
can't we're friends, and we have sex occasionally, and guess what? I love my
Yeah.
friends, and I
Yeah.
have feelings for them, and this and
Yeah.
that," and so, while we don't have to sit here and go, "You're my partner now, because I have feelings for you," why can't we just
Yeah.
why can't we just exist? You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? And that's where we've always when she said she didn't wanna be poly anymore, and I was really big into I need an emotional connection. I said, "Okay,
Mhm.
well, how about we compromise?" And I will just do the friends with benefits
Yeah.
dynamic. Let me have that.
Yeah.
And this way I can connect with my friends and have sex occasionally.
Yeah.
And, and I'm
Yeah.
I'm good. And you don't have the romantic aspect of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we were very similar in how you kind of did your journey. It was the same thing
Mhm.
for us.
Mhm.
And when we started the podcast is when we realized that there was a lot of other people out there who don't know.
Yes.
They don't know, and they're just kind of going along with where the crowds are going and what people are saying, and deep down inside, they have no idea what to do.
Yeah.
And so we like to have guests like yourself on who can echo, what other people have thought,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
it helps them really, really get going with that.
Yeah,
Was there
that
ever a
was
point?
what propelled me to want to get into content creation because it was the voice that I needed when I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
going through my transition. And like I said, I'm like, I really want to live this way. Like I was like, I'm not like my ex-husband wasn't forcing me to do it. I think there's this big myth,
Mhm.
that like women, femmes in relationships with men that are practicing non-monogamy, that the men are the ones that are like pushing them to do this, and that could not be further from the truth. For
Yeah.
my situation, it was very much I was the catalyst for us getting to this place. So I was like, I want to live this way. Why is it so hard? Like I just don't understand. And I needed a voice that said because it's hard
It
and
is.
that's okay. I always say that shifting from monogamy to non-monogamy is like changing your computer's operating system. It's like going from a PC to a Mac, So some of the functions are gonna
Are
work the
similar.
same on either
Yeah.
platform, but a lot of them are not, and so you have to learn this entire new relationship operating system and
That's
we
really
just think
smart.
that
I
that's
like
just
that.
gonna be really easy. Like, "Oh, yeah, I'm just gonna make a decision to be polyamorous and bada bing, bada boom," I know how to do it.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
And, I think there are some people for whom that does occur because non-monogamy very much feels like a homecoming to them. I think for those people, like, usually those people, monogamy just never made sense to them, and that was always the one that felt very foreign and odd and weird. And they just couldn't understand why, that it didn't make sense to them. I think, but for most of us, um, monogamy was pretty comfortable in a lot of ways. And so even when, we decided like, oh, I don't actually want to live this way anymore, I want to shift to, polyamory, non-monogamy, etc. You have to give up this, it's almost like this old sort of comfortable relationship blanket,
That's
Oh,
what I was gonna say
yeah.
because monogamy is like
It's
you
the
you
devil you know.
and yeah, it's the traditional,
Yeah,
right? It's the
yeah,
traditional of the man marries the woman or, whatever, and you have your children and you just continue life in that traditional way. And to break that mold is where it's extremely hard and it's like, "Ooh, are you doing the right thing?"
It comes
right,
off non-monogamy comes off very chaotic at times,
Yes.
but really, when you look at it, like, if you've been doing it a while, when you look at monogamy, monogamy is pretty chaotic with this just sheer blanket over it that goes, "No, this is what everybody does. This is safe. This is what you see in
right.
Hallmark movies
Yeah.
about," But realistically, being monogamous was just as chaotic,
It was.
if not
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
sometimes. Now, I am
Right.
curious about something, Avita, when it came to your experiences. It's something that you hit on at the beginning. Was when you went from swinging to polyamory, you were not very much in the mindset of okay, let's do this. I'm into this. It was kind of a different aspect. It reminds me of my wife at times where she's like, I just have no interest. This is not something. I'm curious on your end because you went from that kind of thinking to being with somebody for 2 years.
Mhm.
Was there,
Mhm.
like, a light switch that flipped? Was it a gradual thing? Did all of a sudden you just meet this person and go, "Okay, you know what? I think I can do this."
Well, it wasn't gradual because in the classic gestalt of, triads, like, it
Mhm.
feels so serendipitous that you, like, punch it, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
So, like,
yeah.
when I talk to people about it, I'm like, "Man, if a friend of mine told me that they had started seeing somebody and 2 months into the relationship, they were talking about moving in together and having children," like, I'd be like, are you sure?" But that's exactly what we were doing, because it felt so serendipitous to, like, find this person who we both liked, who liked both of us, it was like this, like, magical thing, but,
It is.
um, it it was gradual in the sense that, we just kinda started hanging out, and it was just like, "Oh, feelings have developed for this person, and I still have my feelings for my husband, and he has feelings for this person, and he still has feelings for me, and we all have feelings for each other." And this feels really good, and so we're just gonna keep following
Yeah, and a
following
lot
the
of
feel good.
communication. Yeah, a lot of communication, and then if you feel it, it's like, boom, it happened. It's nice.
Right, 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 yeah, so we were just kinda following the feel good, I think we all were getting, different things that really, like, mattered to us about,
Mhm,
what we wanted in relationships, in that relationship, and then, like I said, once that relationship ended, it was just like, "Oh, okay." I always liken, like, for me becoming non-monogamous and then, like, maybe, like, going back to monogamy. So, it was kind of a point of no return for me.
mhm.
But I always liken it to, like, living in, like, a five-bedroom house and then packing up all the furniture and then, like, packing it into a two-bedroom household.
Yeah,
So, like, it's just such a more expanded way of living for me, okay?
Yeah,
right.
So
yeah.
I'm not making it more, like, more quality than monogamy is. Monogamy is very valid, but for me and there is freedom and spaciousness for people in monogamy. But for me, non-monogamy feels so much more expansive. So, like, now to, like, go back to monogamy, like, I feel like I've amassed so much, stuff, in this, like, five-bedroom house, that is non-monogamy for me that, now going back to two-bedroom house with all my furniture, like, it would just feel crowded.
Yeah, yeah,
And so that's how I conceptualize, like, going back to monogamy, for me. And so, once we, kinda opened up, we opened up and that was kinda it. So even though neither of us are, with each other, we both still practice non-monogamy. And that was one of our saving graces, because a lot of couples, one person is doing it for the other person,
mhm,
but they're not really
mhm,
doing it for themselves. Whereas for
mhm.
us, like, both of us were like, "No, we're pretty sure that we wanna live this way. We don't wanna live this way with you anymore." Like, that ship has sailed. But we do still wanna live this way, and so we both continue to practice it. So, yeah, I wouldn't say that it was like a switch flip. It was gradual in a sense that, it was like, "Oh, we did this thing, and then we did that thing, and then we did this thing, and then we did that thing," and then we looked up, and, like, here we were, doing it, but it did feel a little rapid, because, like I
Yeah,
said, the serendipitous of the relationship.
Now,
Yeah.
did you deal with jealousies? I'm really big into, the there's a lot of negativity that comes with jealousy, with the word jealousy, and there's a lot. It's villainized oftentimes, and I've talked about this in
Mhm.
past episodes where people in the non-monogamy spaces are like, "Oh my god, you're jealous? You're doing it wrong." You
yeah.
know what I mean? And I just don't feel like jealousy is a bad thing. I feel like not knowing how to cope with it is a bad
I'm
thing.
a very jealous person. I'm
Oh,
a
so am
very
I.
Yeah, I'm a very jealous person. I'm a very possessive person, and
And she gets looks whenever she tells people
yeah, and
that.
I'm like, it is what it is. It's a feeling. I can't help it. And it took many years of us talking to each other to understand that I'm always going to have these feelings, and yes, he's going to validate them, and yes, he reassures me, but they are what they are. And they can be the most silliest, stupidest little things. Like I can stop and be like, that was just so silly. But how did you overcome
Yeah,
those?
especially in that situation, brand new to
Ooh.
dating and
You're like,
Yeah,
I don't know.
so no, it was intense.
Yeah.
Jealousy is such a visceral emotion. It's so visceral. It would have the effect on me of almost feeling punch drunk.
Yeah.
So I would pitch and reel, emotionally when I would be faced with some evidence of, my, ex-husband feeling for another person, the things that, I was accustomed to him only feeling solely for me and only
For
seeing him
you.
feel
Mhm.
solely for me. And it was highly activating for me, highly activating. So I did a lot of wild things. in the throes of jealousy that I'm not proud of for sure. And I talk about that a lot. And number one, like I said, I really wanted to live this way. And I was just like, okay, we cannot do this. Like, I was
Mhm.
like, this is, if we want to live this way, like, we got to figure out how to nip this shit in the butt, you know?
Yeah.
So, because
Yeah.
like, this is really like, this is harshing our buzz, Vita. So there was that aspect of it. And then some of the behaviors that I chose in the throes of jealousy were not okay, And so it was like, okay,
Mhm.
we have to fix it for that way. Because one of the things I learned, I always say that the biggest benefit of non monogamy is not the multiple partners, but the self discovery.
Mm.
So I
Yes.
Mhm.
learned so many incredible things about myself. And one of the things that I learned was that my default response to pain was anger. So when I would find myself feeling really uncomfortable about something in non monogamy or feeling particularly in pain, I would have these really angry reactions that were super hostile, not good at all. And so, some of my motivation was needing to fix that. So I was like, I know that I want to live this way, and I can't live this way and function, if this is the extent to which, I'm becoming emotionally impacted by this experience. And then also, a lot of these behaviors that I exhibit in this state, also not okay. Um, I began to learn to I think probably my first step in my jealousy process, because everybody's step is different. I think everybody's movement through it is different, or we feel different things about the experience that seem maybe like accessible for us to alter. So, because it is this really visceral emotion, and people treat jealousy like, oh my God, like it's like if I feel this, I'm gonna die. Like, if I
Yeah.
let myself feel this, if I admit that I feel this, if I just sit with the feeling, I'm literally going to spontaneously combust. And so I can't do this.
Yes.
And so I think people's movement through how to process it just varies on like what thing seems attainable to them first, to
Mhm.
maybe adjust or tweak. And so for me, the first thing was just embracing that, like, okay, like, yeah, there are some like people out there who just naturally feel compersion, and fuck those people,
That's my husband.
because
Yes.
right, like
That is
I
me.
respectfully,
No,
like I'm
I
always
am
like,
so with
I
You
love
can
that for
look it
you,
up and see a
great,
picture of me
wonderful.
waving. Like, yeah, no, I get it.
Right, like, write a book and teach us your ways because I don't get it, So,
Yeah. Yeah.
I had to learn to just embrace that, like, Vita, this is your emotional reaction to the stimuli, is
Yeah.
you get jealous. And that kinda is it, and ditch the self-judgment because, like, ditching the self-judgment allowed me more capacity to be able to sit with the emotional experience of jealousy, and it is a surprisingly insightful teacher. It is.
Mm.
So, I learned to kinda make friends with my jealousy, even if it's super uncomfortable when it comes on and I'm like, "Oh, you again." But I've learned to there's a poem by Rumi, I believe, and it's called A Guest House. And he talks about, allowing your emotions to kind of come in, and sit down. And so now I'm like, okay, when my jealousy comes in, I'm just like, okay, like sit at the table. I poured a cup of tea and I'm like, what do you have to say? Okay, girl. What do you have to say? But I had to learn how to ditch the self-judgment and then like learn how to decipher its messages
Mm.
without getting so caught up in its story that I allow it to sort of like Bonnie and Clyde me into like, driving the car off the cliff, which is what would happen. Like,
Yeah.
jealousy would get in the passenger
Yeah.
seat or it would actually get in the driver's seat,
Yeah.
and then it'd be like, we're going to drive this thing off the cliff. And I'd go along with it. Whereas like I had to learn how to stay in the driver's seat and like I could let it get in the car, but I couldn't let it drive. So, and so I kind of had to learn that skill as well. And in learning those things, it allowed me to have a more right relationship with my jealousy so that I was optimizing its existence as a like an emotional teacher, as opposed to like this sort of monster that overtakes me and puts me in a trance and now I'm doing all these horrible things, because I'm possessed by it. Now it's like, oh, like I said, it's a friend. It shows up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "I know
Yeah.
you have a message," and so, and it's like it was changing, my relationship to it.
Oh, I get, I every now and then when that little guy creeps in kind of often, I always go and I tell Adam, I'm like, I felt like this, but I didn't react. And I said this to myself, and this is how it happened. And and sometimes he's, oh, that's really good. And then other times he's like, well, why did you even what was that
Like
reaction for? You're,
why even go there?
that's
Like,
not a win for him, but it's a win for me. And I like to share that
and
with him.
that's where it's hard for us, and where we both have to kind of sit down and cope with her jealousies, because
Yeah.
I'm not a very jealous person at all.
Yeah.
And so it's hard for me to understand a lot of times when she comes out and she's all excited and she's like, "Hey, so that girl that came up and cuddled with you when you were on the couch,
Yeah.
like, I really didn't like that, but I really am excited at the fact that I didn't react in the moment."
I didn't pull her hair off.
And my
Right.
situation is like, I'm sitting back going, "Well, that's good," except for the fact that why would that be your reaction to begin with?
Yeah.
Like, we're friends,
Mm.
like, there's no romantic
It's
engage
I
and so
Yeah.
that's where we have our conversations. It's
Yeah.
like, "Okay, I need to
Yeah.
understand your side of it."
And yeah, I was gonna
You
say
know?
that exactly. Your partner has to understand that's just one of your reactions. Like that's
Yeah,
just
I tell people that a lot. Yeah, like, I
you,
tell my partners, and actually, so it's funny because I think what happened to me when I would get jealous is it's such a myopic emotion, you
mhm,
know?
mhm, mhm.
And so when
Yeah.
I'm in the midst of it, like, it's really hard for me to, like, focus, zoom out, and kind of
It just
incorporate
it
anybody else's
replays. Yeah,
perspective.
it replays in your head. It replays, it
Right,
replays, it replays until you catch it and then
right.
talk. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so
It
it's really
sucks.
hard for me to, like it's really hard for me to grasp that my ex-husband, or any of my partners really, are having their own experience on the other side of my jealousy. And so with my ex-husband, the experience that he was having was maybe feeling some sadness or some disappointment, because to him, the fact that I experienced jealousy meant that I didn't want him to have good things, you know?
Mhm.
Mm.
Yeah.
And he told me that once. Like, I remember one time we were, like, laying in bed one day and processing through some polyamorous issue for the umpteenth time, and he said to me, like, "Why would I get upset about you having more love in your life?"
Yes.
And that, like, really struck a chord, with me, because I was like, "Oh," it kinda made sense to me why my jealousy was so challenging for him, because he also
Mhm.
didn't struggle with jealousy. But in his mind, feeling that meant that you don't want this person to have good things, where I was like, "No," I
Mm.
said, "It's not that at all. It's not that I don't want you to have good things, it's just that you having those things causes me to feel so bad about myself, like, and
Yeah.
causes me to feel so much fear and so much threat."
Mhm.
And I wish it was different, but it's not. And so we had to do a lot of communicating to at least help the person somewhat understand the mindset, so that they weren't turning it into these stories of, like, well, my partner doesn't want me, like I said, to have good things, or,
Yeah.
my partner just wants to control me or possess me, or all of those things. Like, I kind of had to explain to my ex-husband, it's like, no, it's none of those things. It's that, I'm literally kind of having this existential crisis around, like, what does this mean about me if you experience attraction, desire, affection, regard for someone else. And so, yeah. And so, like, I often find myself in circumstances where, like, I'm the really jealous one, and the person that I'm with is just like, I just don't get it at all,
Yeah.
Like,
It's very hard. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
You just
learn
gotta
to understand one another. Yeah.
And, like, we couldn't be more opposite. So I came from an abusive household where I didn't get shown love,
Mhm.
and so
Mm,
I seek it. I seek that
mhm.
affection, I seek that attention, and it took her a long time to understand why I felt the need to seek attention and affection from others when I got it at home. And when I kind of explained it to her from the very beginning and just kind of walked through, and she understood after a while, and she was like, "Oh,
Mhm.
okay. I get it. I mean, I don't like it, but I get it, and it makes sense now why we're here in this position."
Yeah.
And so I don't have any jealousy issues, and so it's taken me a lot to I'm a big analyzer, and I wanna analyze, let's go all the way down to the root reason why you feel this way. And a lot of times it derives from an insecurity.
Mhm.
A lot of jealousies that she's had have derived into her from her own insecurities about how she feels about herself, and she thinks that it's coming out, and I had to show her, look, it's not like that at all. And so those conversations are very pivotal. Now, I wish we had those conversations when we were poly, because
Yeah.
when we were poly, it was all still so new.
Mhm.
We thought that we had a really good way of communicating, and it turns out we didn't. And
Mm.
I knew she was struggling, and because she was struggling, but not talking to me about it, I was just kind of waiting for her to talk to me about it. And meanwhile, my experiences were not great because she was doing everything that she could
Oh, I
to make
was
sure that I wasn't having a good
yeah, I
experience.
definitely did what you said. Like, I definitely caused our poly little lifestyle that we had. I threw wrenches in there for sure. I created
Yeah.
chaos because I was jealous and insecure, and I didn't know how to manage
Yeah,
those.
and,
So, that's definitely
when your relationship is your always your number one priority, the
yeah.
moment that you realize your partner is hurting because of the lifestyle or because of, non-monogamy and jealousies, well, then you just kinda wanna go, "Okay, then I'm not gonna do this.
Yeah.
I don't wanna hurt you."
Yeah.
And at the
Yeah.
same time, she's like, "Well, I don't wanna hurt you and pull you away from this. We need to figure this out."
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's pretty much how that worked for us. Now, if we and I always say, God forbid it ever happened, we would never break up because, she would probably kill me before we break up. But if we ever broke up, she would most likely not be non-monogamous,
Yeah.
and I would
Mm.
most likely be
Yeah.
polyamorous. You know what I mean?
I'm
Like,
good with
Yeah.
I'm good with both, and I'm also good with
just the sexual
yeah, just the
aspect.
sexual aspect, but I'm also good be I could go like you said, I could go back to the monogamy. I have no problem with that because I find it's just sharing my relationship, and I could also yeah, I would if I had to pick and choose one, monogamy works for me fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
As
the
Yeah,
non-monogamy
I
works.
freedom
sometimes say
of it.
that I think that I'm a monogamous person that, like, figured out how to hack myself,
Yeah.
Kinda the way I describe it. I definitely do feel pretty polyamorous now, but it's less about the having the capacity to love multiple people at once, which I can, and more about I just like having the maximum amount of freedom afforded to me.
Yeah.
Yes,
And that
absolutely.
includes how I interact with, the relationships that I form. So I'm like, "How can I get the maximum amount of freedom possible?" And so that's actually what propels, my living,
Yeah.
non-monogamously is that particular thing. It's like, "Okay, I want to be able to be just choose who I wanna interact with and how." And so as a result, in order to be fair,
Yeah.
I have, in my, ethos, I have to embrace that my partners get to share in the same freedoms. But though
Mhm.
I remember being on a podcast once and telling someone that if I could like wave a magic wand and like nothing about this would be problematic. That world does not exist, but whatever. And so I would be non-monogamous, and all of my partners would be monogamous to me, you know?
Yes. Yes. Can you
Right,
wave
so
that
I would be
wand?
right, and they would all be monogamous to me because 'cause they'd be like, "You're just so
Too
amazing and so
perfect.
great and so wonderful and too perfect and so much human that
I
there is
love
just
that.
no way that I could hold you, but also there is no other person that I could see myself, like, really wanting to be with, and so you go, you be with all these other people, and I am just going to be devoted to you, like, oh my god, like, I'd be like,
Yes.
who wouldn't want that?
Can we
Who
have
wouldn't
that?
want
Can we
that?
have that spell over here?
Right, right, but because of my, like I said, ethic of, like, wanting freedom and then also wanting freedom for the people around me, so polyamory is very much or my movement through my relationships is very much a liberatory practice as well.
Uh-huh.
So, how are we engaging in relationships where people feel liberated, and not feel
Mm.
constrained, tied down, having to, not at least I don't wanna say maybe, like maybe entertain their desires, so it's like certain desires you have to just completely stifle and put them on ice, and I'm like, do you really have to do that? So, is there something else that we can do?"
Mhm.
So, and so, yeah, so obviously, I would not I embrace that my partners are gonna have other people, and I've actually been fortunate that, throughout the course of my journey, I have been able to develop more compersion. But it was intentional. It was very much an intentional practice of going,
Mhm,
okay, like
mhm.
I feel like what happens is people come into the non-monogamous community, they hear about compersion, they hear these people who are probably clearly further along, than they are. So they move through a lot of this stuff, talking about feeling compersion, and then people are like, "Oh my god, I have to figure out how to get to that emotion." And it's such naivety to me at best and delusionment, okay, at worst, to imagine that you're gonna go from my partner having a relationship with someone else in any context or capacity is bad to it's this wonderful thing that I feel really great about, like, with one decision to be polyamorous. Like, no, that's a gradual process of
Mhm, mhm.
sort of walking towards that. So, at first, I was shooting for compersion, and when it was like, "Oh, Vita, we do not feel that naturally, honey." Then it was like, "Okay, like, maybe I can just shoot for indifference.
Yeah.
Can I just shoot for neutrality to where I'm just like, I don't feel bad or good about this." I feel committed to the agreement that we made to live this way. But, like, I don't feel good or bad about, my partner being with someone else. It just is. And so I had to,
Now,
like, work towards getting to that place.
Avita,
And
and
then so can we
I
get
don't
to a
mean
place
to
where we feel more positive.
I don't mean to cut you off. I'm curious though. So in that specific form of indifference,
Mhm.
do you feel at all that it's almost a disconnect? Do you feel
That's
like
what
you
I call it.
disconnect at all when you hit that indifference? Because I noticed Pris does the same thing, and I love it. I'm very grateful for it because she's learned how to kind of roll her eyes and walk away to certain things that she sees. She's like, you know what,
Mhm.
whatever. And I appreciate that. It makes things easier for me. But at the same time, do you feel like there's a level of disconnect?
No, I think that we have this notion that we're supposed to like everything that our partners do in order to
Mm,
be able to
mhm.
support it. And in that context, I didn't feel a disconnect because I was connected to what was going on. I just didn't like it, It made
Yeah.
me uncomfortable,
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah.
So for me, indifference was about kind of going like, I'm not all that jazzed that like this is the thing that's causing my partner to feel fulfillment, but I'm like glad that they're pursuing their fulfillment.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of where I stayed for a little
Mhm,
while.
mhm,
Um, and then I started moving towards, well, let me see if I can develop ways where I feel positively about this, or can I move the needle a little bit more? Is what I call it. Can I move the needle, a
mm,
little bit more towards I can actually experience feeling good, about my partner interacting with other people. And I, I'm happy to report that I was able to, move the needle, considerably so. But I still what I find I never really found that I just have these situations where I'm just completely void of jealousy or envy. It's more like ratios.
Mm,
So I may have ratios where my jealousy quotient is like 2%,
yeah.
but it's still there, So it's still there. It's just
Yeah.
so mild that it's not even worth mentioning, or some other feeling is far more present and far more salient
mm,
than, my jealousy. But I tend to, like I said, I'm just kind of so one of the concepts that I came up with for myself is that as human beings, we all have our individual personal emotional index. And in the wide swath of human emotions, we have our own personal emotional index. And some emotions we experience to a high degree, some emotions we experience to a mid, degree, and some emotions we experience, little to none at all. For me, embarrassment and shame are emotions that I don't experience a ton of, but jealousy is one that I experience, pretty highly. And so I've just come to, like I said, embrace that, like, this is my emotional reaction to this stuff more
mm,
often than
mhm.
not, or a lot of the time. Also, too, jealousy, it doesn't just tell you about insecurity. Sometimes it tells you that something in your relationship isn't right. It
Mm.
needs to be taken a look at and addressed. Sometimes it tells you that you're hungry and your blood sugar is low,
Yeah, go
or
Thank you.
something like that.
yes,
Or
yes.
having a
Sometimes
sinus
that's a message, and
infection or
sometimes it's a
something. Yeah.
combination. I often find that it's a combination of things, actually. It's
Oh,
never just
yeah.
one thing. Yeah, it's usually a combination of things.
We had to really dig. We had before we close off, we had a really big event, and I had a sinus infection.
Yeah.
And during this event, and the event was supposed to be it was a three nights, and it was supposed to be a lot of fun, enjoying each other, enjoying other people. I had a sinus infection and I was needy. So jealousy came out like the big
Big
bad
time.
wolf and was like, "Yeah, no, I need you to take care of me right now. You are not to like." And I didn't express that. I expressed it in
Jealousy.
jealousy and controlling and insecurity and every negative little way you can think of. I totally controlled that situation with that. And wasn't healthy, wasn't good, wasn't an experience that I ever wanna have again, but to sit back and finally
You
realize,
learned a
"Oh,
lot
that's what
from
it
it then.
was."
Yeah.
But it did take me,
Yeah.
it took me to understand really I had to do it really fast. Why was I acting like this? Why was that happening? And controlled the situation fast because it could have blown up, it could have got worse, it could have whatever, but
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
does take a lot to, like, stop and just think and figure out what you're struggling with and try to make that change really quick because it could be catastrophic.
It could be. Yeah.
Yeah, liken it to so something happened, you get activated, and if you think of yourself as, like, at a train station, and something happens, you get activated, and a train pulls up to the station, and you just get on it. And you know that that train is, like, careening towards a wall, you know?
Mhm. Mhm.
But you don't got on the damn train, and so now you're getting careening towards a wall. So, I had to learn how to get off a few stops sooner.
Yeah.
And then eventually, I got to the place to where I would, like, barely get on the train at all, when it came up. But that took time and practice to sort of develop those skills to, like you said, even if you experience that emotion to be able to pivot, in the
Mhm.
moment so
Mhm.
that you're not engaging in these really, really, like, just horrible
Yeah.
behaviors because you're, experiencing this very visceral emotion.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Now, Evita, we're gonna start wrapping up, but before we do,
Mhm.
we have a lot of listeners who are maybe new to the lifestyle or new to polyamory, new to non-monogamy,
Mhm.
period. And then there's a lot of listeners who are just trying to learn how to grow in non-monogamy. And so there's always a lot of really great information that guests put out there. You had said earlier, freedom. That's one of the reasons why I love non-monogamy, and when I first became polyamorous, I did like a lot of people, which is I felt like I was a Pokemon. I was trying to collect all the cards, I was trying to get
Mhm.
into as many situationships or relationships as much as I could because I felt like that's what we had to do. And then I learned later on that I didn't want that at all. What I just wanted was the freedom to be able to if I chose to. And so
Mhm.
I think a lot of people are realizing, hey, I don't have to date everybody. Now, that's from my
Yeah.
own tangent, but I'm curious from your own tangent for people who are new to this space, what is what's the biggest advice that you could give to someone who's just learning about it?
Curiosity
Mm.
and gratitude. Before you get upset, get curious is one thing that I heard somewhere that has been my saving grace. And then also shifting from seeing your relationships as like sites where you like your old things. This is my right. This is my birthright. Oh,
The
in this
entitlement.
relationship.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah. Entitlement. And instead, shifting to a model where you're seeking to find the gratitude space first. I feel like that always puts me in the right attitude, even
Mm.
when I'm upset or frustrated or my partner has done a thing that I don't like. I try to look for, okay, what am I grateful for? Because it's a reminder to me that any time, any regard, any affection that someone chooses to give you is very much a gift and very much a choice.
Mhm.
And they could be making a different choice. And it allowed me
Mm.
to begin to, break down seeing all of those things as mine, their regard, their attention, their time, whatever, they belong to me. And so when I am, trying to cash in on it, give me what I'm owed, give me what belongs to me. And that was really crucial for me in, embracing non-monogamy because it helped me to sort of break down this idea that, my partner was giving what belonged to me to other people
Right.
Mhm.
instead of they were sharing what belonged to them with the people that they wanted to. And it is a blessing that they choose me to be one of those people. And so that was also very pivotal, for me, is to remember gratitude first, a gratitude first approach. And then also, a curiosity, a beginner's mind, they talk about in Buddhism, the beginner's mind,
Yeah.
keeping a mind of curiosity and openness and wonder. I felt that. Wow, that's so fascinating. Why? What was that about? This is what I thought about. This is how this impacted me. Or, wow, that he went out on a date with someone and I was totally fine with like them like fucking, at a sex party for hours, but they went to the restaurant that we went to on our first date and I fell apart, So it's so funny.
Did you read
Different
my
things that
diary?
right, I find it so fascinating what is the thing
Yeah.
for us. And the
Yeah.
thing that for us is very different from the thing for a partner. So the partner may not care about the restaurant, but maybe like, y'all went to a sex club, and that's the thing that, was it for them. Being curious about those things, is also a saving grace because I think curiosity allows us the space to meet what comes forward for us with a lot more like openness and less judgment because you're not seeing it as a lot of times, we have our emotional reactions and people just go, you're not supposed to be here. You shouldn't be here. They do that to their emotions. Whereas curiosity says, oh, you're here? Wow. Let me find out why. So curiosity and gratitude. Remember
Curiosity and
remember
gratitude.
I love that.
Yeah, that's
Those are going to stay with me.
Evita, you're just throwing out gold left and
I
right.
know.
I could talk about this stuff with you all day, Evita. This was such a good conversation. Big shout out to Evita Lavitaloca Sawyers for hanging out with us and keeping it real.
Yeah, seriously. Thank you for being so vulnerable and honest. And if you guys aren't already following her, you need to fix that. She's on Instagram, she's on Facebook, her website. We're going to keep all of her little tags on our show.
Absolutely. It'll be on our show notes
Awesome.
as well as her guest bio on our website.
Nice.
Also what we mentioned at the beginning of the show, she's an author of a polyamory devotional, which is basically a year's worth of bite-sized reflections that'll make you rethink how you show up in your relationships. As always, don't forget to hit us up, www.beyond-monogamy.com. That's where you'll find everything on our, from our events calendar, our merch, the blog, our guest bios, where you can find everything about our guests as well as our episodes, and our Beyond Monogamy confessional, which is 100% anonymous. You can interact with us, the show, tell us your stories, your secrets, whatever you want to share. If you don't like this lifestyle and you want to spew it out with your partner not knowing about it, by all means, that's what you can do. That you can drop us all of your questions and your wildest stories for the show. We love hearing from you, seriously. That's what keeps us going.
Yes. And don't forget to like, subscribe, review, and share the show on whatever platform you're listening, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, all of it. It helps us grow and it helps more curious couples find our conversations.
Yes. You can also catch us on fullswapradio.com every Thursday at 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. Central Time. Come hang out with us there and catch all the other awesome lifestyle shows that are there as well. To all our listeners who tune in every week, keep growing, keep feeling, keep doing this thing on your own damn terms. That's what we all are trying to do. We're trying to grow.
Yes.
And with that, we will see you all next week.
Bye.